Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Doodle Robot, and today I actually just came over from my desk to talk about some painting tips and just something I'm going to try here. So I don't know, 2 days ago or so I hadn't colored in a few days, and I was very frustrated because I just didn't have the time to do so. And so I have several projects underway that have plans and they're a little more elaborate, but it was like, I don't know, it was like 9:30 at night and I should have been going to bed, but it's like I just had to pick up a pencil and color for some time. So rather than working on one of my planned things that, has elaborate plans and color schemes and all that, I just took out a book from the shelf, and I'm like, I'm just gonna start coloring the first thing I find, something I'm not too attached to or anything, just to block color something, for 30 minutes before I go to bed. And in a rare instance, I didn't do the background first because I saw the crab, and I'm like, oh, crab, that's my sign. I was born in July, so that's my sign. And I don't think I've done one. So I'm like, well, I'll just get out a red pencil and I'll start coloring these designs, which are actually, I was thinking about stuff that I said in my last video about not caring for mandalas too much, and it's interesting because I like these drawings that have all kinds of designs in them for some reason, which are very, in many ways, mandala-like. However, they're just not in that circle for some reason. I like this much better. I don't know. So I really don't see the difference, though, between this and a mandala, actually. Just something I was thinking about. But anyways, I picked up the pencils and started coloring. And then so the dark red you see there is Prismacolor, Crimson Lake, I think? I'm not sure. And then I've got two Crayola color pencils there that I'm using for the other colors. So, and the reason I'm standing here in front of the camera today is because one of my viewers, I'm not sure what exactly they wanted, but they wanted to see me paint some of my painting techniques or something. So I have a tip here that I think is pretty good, something to do with the Posca pen. Which I'll talk about, and then I think, now I had an idea and I've seen this on a couple of channels and on the internet and stuff, where people will do like water and sand and stuff, and I was going to do that. I got some inspiration pictures all picked out, and then, the mandala thing is rumbling around in my head a bit. I think sometimes my phone spies on me, because I know I was talking about the mandala when I was filming my last color along, and then YouTube started showing me lots of mandala videos, and of course it's late at night, I'm just watching them before I fall asleep. So I don't know, for some reason mandalas are on my brain right now. But I'm going to, when I was just washing my face tonight after coming home from work, I'm like, oh no, I should draw on some mandala-like designs. Now, having said that, you're like, what? I thought you said you didn't like mandalas. True, I did. I don't like coloring them. I do like drawing them, and I probably like painting them. We will see. So I think I'm going to black out the whole page here, except for the little crab. And then I'm going to, I don't know what paints I'm going to use yet. Maybe just my Apple Barrel matte paints, or perhaps I may use those in conjunction with some of my metallic watercolors, perhaps, because some of them on top of the black look really cool. I may use one or the other. I have no idea what I'm doing yet. I just know that I'm going to black this out. So, because I'll raise you up a little bit. I don't particularly like let me show you what book we're working in. We're working in Fanciful Sea Life, which is a wonderful book by one of my favorite illustrators, Marjorie Sarnott. This is not a reflection bad on Marjorie Sarnott. I mean, the book is great. Like I said, I was kind of picking a page that I didn't particularly like, and all these other pages make a lot of sense. Sorry, let me get you in camera here mostly. However, this page with the crab doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think I know what she was aiming for. Probably like the crab is walking across the beach or even underwater on the sand, and there's all these like starfishes and sand dollars, and I live in the desert, so I don't know what most of these things are, but they must be like seashell life type things that come on the beach near the ocean. I don't know. So maybe that was the aim, but I generally don't like pages that have a lot of strange confetti stuff just thrown on there, and this kind of fits the bill. So, which is probably why I chose it. Well, I know it's why I chose it to just to sit down and color anything, something, whatever I could find that, you know, I didn't have a plan for. I just wanted to engage in the act of coloring. Basically, for me, that was, you know, my form of meditation before I went to bed. So that's why I have decided to black this out, because I don't like that confetti. They're not like even overlapping. There's no sense of depth. It's a little awkward. But anyways, so the tip I have for you is this. Now, I don't particularly like, this is a Posca pen, black. I like this little nib here. Where's the thing? It's not the bullet tip, it's the other one. This is it's this 1MR 0.7 millimeters. Sorry, my washing machine shaking the whole house there. And it's the pointy tip. I don't know what they call that. I like this one. This is a really old Posca pen. It's bound to run out at some point. I just bought two new ones. But I don't particularly like coloring the whole page in Posca pen. I think the apple barrel acrylic paint does a much better job, blacking out stuff that you want to hide. However, it is tough to get in with a brush around all of these little areas. So I've discovered an easier way to do it, and it involves the Posca pen. And then we'll switch to paint. So what we're going to do here, I'll demonstrate for you. I'm going to turn this light off so I don't cast too much of a shadow. All right, so let me get my pin primed here. Okay, so we're going to, I may bump the camera with my glasses. It happens. I'm not as close as I would like to be because the camera's in my way. If I go around this with my Posca pen, sorry, I'm going to have to situate the camera here a little better somehow. Oh, nope. Hold on, what did I do? Okay, nope. Oh gosh. Having a problem here. Okay, if I go around everything with the Posca pen and make that line a little bit wider, and then when I come in with my, and it's just basically a fat line, all the way around my image, and then I come in with my acrylic paint and the brush, it's much easier to control, you know, because I don't have to try to get this outlined here. All right, so basically that's the tip I have for you. Now if you're only using this much Posca pen it's not going to show the difference in sheen that they have. There's a slightly different sheen from the Posca pen to the Apple Barrel matte paint. It's a slight difference, but you're not going to see it here because you're mostly going to be covering that up. And it's just such a small area. If you had a big area and then you started painting with your paint there, you would definitely see a difference in the sheen. But with this just being a relatively little area, fat area, just to protect your drawing here, it's going to be much easier to come in with your paintbrush and your black paint. And I mean, these pins are expensive. I think this was nearly $4 or $5. I want to say it was like nearly $5. I don't want to blow through that on the background here, all this background. I would rather use my cheap Apple Barrel paint than, you know, my expensive Posca pen paint. But it's great for going around the whole image. So I'm going to go around the whole image and come back, and then we'll talk about painting the background black. All right, I'll see you in just a bit. Okay, we're back. All right, so I've got my Apple Barrel black matte acrylic paint. I've already given it a good shake. I'm going to put it on just some palette paper that I have. You don't have to have palette paper. You can use, and I reuse mine over and over because it just, acrylic paint just makes a plastic coating, and you can just keep reusing it and reusing it as long as you want. I once had a kid who was using a plastic plate in class, and he used that thing all year, and his paint for the whole year was probably about that thick across the whole plate. He was very proud of that. He left it for me. Like, he thought I was going to keep that, but no. So I'm going to put my paint on there. This paint is great. It's nice and soft body. It's very runny. It's not a high viscosity paint. It's what we call a soft body, which means it's much more liquidy. All right, and it's matte, which is important for your color books. I'm going to use, to go into all the tiny little areas, I'm going to use a very small brush. This is just something I procured from school, I'm sorry to say. So it's very small. It's a, what did it say? It was a 3-0. Okay, and that's going to go into all the little tiny crevices. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm not going to do all this on camera, but just a little bit, I'm going to paint in some of the small areas here, and I've situated my camera differently, so hopefully I can see better this time. And for the outside areas, I don't want to move the camera too much out of what we're doing. I've drawn a line, as you can see here. I've drawn a line down my page because I'm going to, I just used the perforation because, you know, these Creative Haven books come with a perforation here. I've just used that as my straight edge, and I've drawn with my Posca pen along there, so I know where to stop. So it should be an easy painting job, as I've got a nice thick line. I don't have to worry about getting it in my design there. For once I get all around here painted with the detail brush, I'll switch to a bigger, some kind of bigger brush, soft bristle, and then I'll just paint the rest of it that way. All right, so I'm not going to do it all on camera, just a little bit, just to give you an idea. So I'm going to pour my paint onto here, and I just do a tiny bit at a time, especially when I'm doing all the detail stuff. I'm going to wet my bristles first. All right, so it will pick up the paint really well. I think I have to turn this one off or I cast a shadow, so. All right, so I'm just getting the tiniest amount on the tip of my brush for these detail areas. And then I don't have to be too careful because I've got that Posca paint line for me as a buffer. And I just kind of paint it on there nice and thick. I'll oftentimes go over the last area I painted when I get new paint on my brush. You could do 2 thin coats. The black covers very, very well. Most books I can get away with 1 coat. Sometimes you have to do 2 of the black. Now other colors, not necessarily. Sometimes you have to do 2 or 3 coats to get a nice opaque layer on there, if that's what you're going for. And since I do want to block out all these doodles here, I want a nice thick coat. But generally I kind of just paint over and over, and I kind of get it all in one go. And I'm trying to cover the Posca, but anywhere I might not get it, it's not really going to show too much. I really hope I was in camera there. If your paint is not this thin, like mine's nice and thin and perfect for painting, you could thin it with a little water, which is why I only get out a little bit of paint, unless I have to mix a specific color. And then I'm going to mix a lot of paint, enough to do the whole job, because we all know that it's really hard for a lot of people to mix the same color again and have it be a perfect match. I can do it, but I haven't met a student yet who could. But they will be able to. Eventually, they'll figure out color theory and they'll be able to do it eventually. It's just not really a beginner thing. So always mix more than you need. I still do that. It's just a good rule to do. If I have extra, I can always find a place to paint it. Alright, so you see I paint like the new area, and then I kind of go back up here and I paint more of the old area. I'm kind of getting my 2 coats all in one pass that way. But like I said, if you prefer, you can paint 2 thin coats. Now the apple barrel white paint, oh, that's not a forgiving paint. The black is very forgiving here. The white paint, I find, I don't know if I got a bad batch, but it's very thick. I have to water it down. Or you can see like every brush stroke in it. Don't really have that problem with the black acrylic paint, the apple barrel black. And sometimes I see a streaky area, I'll just go back and fill it in. As it dries, I can see it better. So that's all there is to it. So with the white, if I were trying to blot out all these lines with the white, first of all, I probably wouldn't do, maybe they have a block out white that I just don't know about, but I haven't seen it at my local Walmart. So I'm going to go and I'm going to paint all the little areas like I said, and then I'm going to take my bigger brush, one of my bigger brushes here, and paint off the edge of the paper. Now one tip, you want to be careful with your bigger brush. Make sure you paint far enough out that you're not going to accidentally hit something there. But one tip, sometimes, now the Creative Haven books are single-sided, so it's not really a big problem if you're going to get your paint on the other side of the paper. It doesn't matter. But one tip and actually I could probably just demonstrate here for you. One tip to not, if you have a double-sided book and you want to paint and you always end up with paint over here somehow, A tip to avoid that, let me wet my brush here. A tip to avoid that is to always paint, sorry, there's still water on my brush. Okay. Always paint in this direction, and as you approach the edge, kind of lift up just a little bit. Okay, that's going to give you, then you're not going to get paint back here. Never do this. You're always going to end up with paint back there. Try not to move your paper so that the paint that goes on your paper ends up getting on the back side of this page. So what that will look like is that. So I'm approaching it tentatively, and I kind of pull up at the last minute there. Okay, and I'm using a bigger brush. I may take when I'm using this brush, I may do 2 thin coats rather than I did here with the detail brush up here, where I kind of get my 2 coats all in one because I keep going back over it. So if we look, we can see no paint there, but it is important for me to move this down a little so that I don't get some paint on the back there. If you're working on a double-sided book or something like that. All right, so I am going to go off and paint the rest of my page. This has just been your quick painting tips for the day. If you have questions in the questions, let me know in the comments section. If you want me to show some other kind of techniques, let me know what that would be, and I'll be happy to oblige if I can. So I thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I look forward to seeing you next time. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.